The guys from Ping, they've kind of shown me how much the equipment matters.
I just love that I can hit any shot I kind of want.
We're going to be able to tell some fun stories about what goes on here to help golfers play better golf.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Ping Proving Grounds podcast. I'm Shane Bacon, joined as always by Marty Jertson. Marty, we got a legend with us today, a living legend in the golf space. Tim Herron joining us. And Tim, we're fired up to have you a part of the podcast. I know you've been a part of the Ping family for a long, long time. I wanted to start with family because you're a guy that grew up in an extremely competitive golf family. When did you start playing? When did you get introduced to the golf? To golf? Do you know how old you were when you were kind of introduced initially to the game?
Yeah, probably 7 years old. I'd go out and play like 3 holes with my dad after he was done with work. And right before dinner, kind of run the dogs and stuff like that. So it was kind of always fun. And then probably at 10, I started caddying for my dad pretty cheap, I guess. I was probably cheap labor for him. So, 10 to probably 15, and then started working in the golf business. I worked for a pro at a club where my dad was actually at. So, so I've kind of always been around the game.
Was your dad a pro player? What was his what's his background?
He was a pro for about a year. He was a life insurance salesman, so he could get out and play a lot of golf.
It's always so interesting to talk to people that have these kind of golf families, like the Keenies, for instance, right? I mean, these people that grew up, around the game, but growing up very competitively. I mean, your sister, great player. I mean, very, very competitive, played a whole bunch of great golf tournaments. I know she won a lot of big events in her day. You talked about your dad being so involved in golf, your granddad being so involved in golf. Once you got into it, was it instantaneously competitive? Was it one of those things that right off the bat, you went, oh my goodness, I got to play against these people that take the game relatively seriously?
Yeah, I think, my sister's younger than I am, but I don't know. I think I probably beat my dad at like 14 or 15, and then I shot up, and then we're 3-4 years apart. My sister was good, and then I kind of went to college and played national things, and she was winning state amateurs and state opens and things like that. And then I caddied for her in the mid amateur, and that's pretty much our only USG event in the family. So she gave me a trophy on that, her bib she framed. So that's what I got it down above the pool table.
Tim, my wife actually played golf for New Mexico and Albuquerque on the golf team there. I want to know how in the world you ended up there, making your way to Albuquerque.
So I got a scholarship either at University of Minnesota, New Mexico, or ASU. And ASU started at 80. By the time I was going to sign, it was 10. My dad says, no, you're not going there. And I wanted to go south. I just didn't know it snowed more in Albuquerque than it does in Minnesota. But it's gone the next day, right? So I didn't know it was like high desert. But it worked out great. I was John Field's first recruit with actually Christian's brother. I was Christian's brother's college roommate. And that's kind of how I got there. I knew John through a pro that taught me how to play, an assistant pro. And John Fields actually worked for him before he got the New Mexico job.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got down there, yeah.
Christian Pena, the head of our tour department from New Mexico.
Exactly, Belen, New Mexico. And Jason, his brother, was my college roommate.
That's
for
incredible.
A semester here and there, yeah.
So you guys were playing, UNM South was there at the time, and you guys, that was your home track?
Yeah, now my oldest son plays there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was kind of during COVID. He didn't really have a place to go, so we decided New Mexico's a good spot. And he's had a pretty good college career down there.
Lumpy, did you take a liking to the Mexican food there in the green chili?
Yeah, I did. And when I go back and visit my son, I don't eat as much Mexican food. I eat the green chili, so I'll put like green chili on a burger.
Oh yeah,
or like eggs, or like even a pizza, right?
Yep.
But the actual Mexican food, that's a little tough on me now.
Shane, have you spent any time in Albuquerque eating the food there?
So I was gonna say, for people that don't know about New Mexico Mexican food, way spicier than what you traditionally run into when you eat Mexican food anywhere else in the country or beyond. And I think that's one of the real unique things about New Mexico. There's a couple of restaurants, Marty, in Phoenix, Los Dos. I'm sure you've been to it multiple times.
Yep.
Like, you got to bring a towel to kind of dab the forehead as you're eating through that stuff, because it is absolutely no joke. But yes, Tim, I totally understand as we get a little bit older. I'm not sure it's the Mexican food there that you want to be taken down midday when you got golf ahead of you.
Yeah. So how about Richardson's? Have you been to that one in Arizona, in Phoenix?
I have not been. Awesome.
No, Richardson's a little New Mexican too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's good. Yeah.
I have to check it out. So you played college golf in New Mexico. I mean, obviously you were an extremely good amateur player and good junior player. When did it flip from I'm good to I've got potential to really do this for a living? I've got potential to make a Walker Cup team, things like that. When did your game really kind of turn for what would become your career?
Yeah, I mean, I had potential my freshman year. I became honorable mention my sophomore year, and then first team All-American my last two. And then I kind of knew right there, college-wise, I was good enough to turn pro and give it a try. So, I missed out of first stage right out, and then I came back and graduated and was assistant coach for a semester. And then I went out and played Australia, Canada, mini tours, did the whole thing, and got my Nike card, which is Korn Ferry.
Yep.
In 95, and then in 96, I got my card, and I won my 7th event on tour. So I remember the Honda, the one that I won, that I was trying to do a rain dance that all the rain would come in because it was supposed to be nasty, and we played all day in it. But what happened was that I played all day and I won the tournament, and I think that kind of propelled knowing that I could stay on tour for quite a long time, because I finished 4 rounds. They didn't give it to me.
Tim, I wanted to ask real quick before we get into the pro stuff. I was looking at the Walker Cup you played in '93, and I didn't realize that it was played in Minnesota. How special was it? How big of a goal was it for you that year to make that Walker Cup team, considering where the event was being hosted? I can only imagine for you it was like a pinch me moment to be wearing red, white, and blue, playing in the state that you basically grew up in.
Yeah, it was really awesome, but it was nerve-wracking. Now looking back, it was extremely just unbelievable experience and memories, right? I remember Alan Doyle was a buddy of mine. I remember asking him if he wanted to be partners, and he took Justin Leonard, and I was with John Harris, who was actually another player from Minnesota. He won the U.S. Amateur that year, and we actually defeated some English boys, so it was good.
Do you remember who you played in that first singles match? Do you remember who you matched up against?
I know who I played singles. I played Patty Harrington, beat him one up.
That a baby. You beat him one up. There you go. That's
good.
The
other two was Van and...
Yep. Van was the matchup. You won that one. You guys were running away with this thing, but you won that 3-2. So it was a good Walker Cup for you as well.
Great Walker Cup.
You mentioned your playing partners didn't want to hit all the woods. I was going back and I looked at some of your early PGA Tour stats, and you were way up there in driving distance. I wasn't aware of that. You were in the top 5, top 10 in driving distance.
Yeah,
and back then
almost 10 years, 8 years.
Yeah, and back then obviously they didn't have the shot link and how far you are from the middle of the fairway and this type of stuff. Did you kind of feel like you had the whole strokes gained driving figured out, like better to hit it far than hit a ton of fairways before everyone else?
No, my caddy was a little old school, so I just remember watching Phil going, I'm just going to try to hit it as far. I remember him having arguments with Butch Harmon. Butch goes, I can get your swing a little tighter. You can hit it more consistent. And he goes, no, man, I want to hit as far as I can. And I was kind of back and forth. If I need to contend in a major, I need to hit a little straighter. That doesn't mean hitting irons off the tee all the time. I just need to hit the driver a little straighter. But I think when the body started slowing down a little bit, I could time it a little better. So Maybe when I got fat and old, I actually hit it straighter and not as far.
It's so interesting to hear you say that about Phil, because obviously now the modern, and Marty was kind of touching on this, but the modern mentality of players is hit driver all over the place and go and find it. I mean, no event is better illuminated to that point than what we saw in 2020 when Bryson won at Winged Foot, and he basically said, I'm going to aim for half of the fairway in the rough. Like, I do not care where the driver goes. I remember there was an Open Championship years ago. Vijay Singh was last in the field in fairways hit and first in the field in greens and regulation. I feel like VJ was a bit ahead of his time in that stat as well. What players outside of Phil Mickelson were you looking at going, the way this guy plays makes maybe a bit more sense than what people are telling me to do?
I think you're correct on that. Vijay Singh, if he was in between clubs, he'd always pull out a driver. He always tried to stay as aggressive as he could. And he was so strong, and Tiger Woods, well, you'd see Tiger back off like in the British Opens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he could hit that stinger. All he needed to do was get in the fairway because he was such a good iron player, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think a lot of guys use their length to an advantage, like a Vijay Singh. I remember I'm at Firestone right now playing the senior, I don't even know. I think it's our tour championship. Anyways, I'm playing with that. I remember playing with Vijay. One round when he won it, and he pulled out driver every hole and just tried to drive it up as far as he could. Figure if you're gonna hit it in the crap, you might as well be closer to the green.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun going back and look at some of your stats, Lumpy, from before the ShotLink era. You know, way down there in driving distance. Your driving accuracy was like, 150
Not
or
great.
more, but your greens and regulation was super high,
Yeah, I was always a pretty good iron player. Mid irons, especially like par threes and stuff. I felt like I could take advantage on par threes, and if I get up there on par fives, I think I'm a much better wedge player now since I've been playing the Champions Tour
Yeah.
the last 5 years than I have out on. And now I carry like 4 wedges, where I used to only carry 3 because I felt like some of the weapons were 1-irons back in the day and stuff like that. Now you can't even get the ball in the air with a 1-iron, but I remember the ping 1-iron, right?
Yep.
I still have like 12 of them at home.
What was it like? I feel like you played in the very interesting time. You got on tour right before Tiger, right? You won some tournaments, and then he came on the scene.
Actually, we were rookies the same year, but he only played less than half the year, and he got Rookie of the Year, and I won that year too. But I think it worked out all right for everyone. I don't mind riding Tiger Woods' coattails a little bit, you know what I mean? But I'm like, he didn't play a full schedule. Should he really be Rookie of the Year? Should he be? Nah, that's what I always give him. He remembers me beating him in the U.S. Amateur. And I go, you know what? I'll give you that U.S. Amateur if you just give me one of those major trophies. Just one. You got 15 or whatever of them. Just one of them.
You beat him in the year before he won the 3 in a row?
Yeah. I beat him. He was still in... Yeah, he was still in high school.
Yeah.
And the funniest part about the story is Brian Gay. We're looking at the brackets. Is Brian Gay, Jonathan Kay, and they're like, oh, Tiger's in your bracket. I wouldn't want to play him. So I won, Tiger won, and now I got to play him. I'm like, why'd these guys have to put it on me? You know what I mean? And I actually, I played pretty good and beat him up pretty good. But
where was that one at, Lumpy?
Muirfield.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Muirfield Village. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we're not, this isn't a historian podcast, but I think there's an argument to be made that might be the only match he lost at a USGA championship, or one of maybe 2, because obviously
that's what a lot of people say. I don't know. I haven't really gone through the archives, but I think
he might have lost 2. I think he played in 2 AMs he didn't win when he won those juniors, and then played obviously in the 3-1. So there's your Jeopardy answer is Tim Herron, whenever anybody wants to answer that. By the way, Marty's mentioned it a couple times. Listen, I know you've answered this question 2 billion times in your career, but can you tell us the Lumpy nickname story, please, sir?
All right, yes. So that golf course that I worked at, so the golf shop was a little separated from the clubhouse, and the driving range was down this hill. And I walked in, they go, what's your name? And I go, Tim Herron. I actually knew the pro, but the assistant pro's kind of giving me some grief, right? So He goes, well, do you have a nickname? I go, no, I don't have a nickname. He goes, why don't you go down and pick the range, and we'll have a nickname for you when you come up. So I go down there for about 45 minutes an hour, clean the range up, come back up, and they go, hey, Lumpy, how you doing? How do you like your nickname? I go, I don't really like it, and it's been Lumpy ever since. So that's my nickname.
What did it derive from? Were you doing something weird, picking the range? Like where
No,
did
they just thought I always kind of looked frumpy lumpy, you know what I mean? So
okay.
And there's actually a kid in high school that was nicknamed Lumpy. So I wasn't even lumpy in high school. It was all around the golf community. I wasn't even lumpy in college. I thought I got rid of it until I was winning my first tournament in '96. And the pro's brother played on the Champions Tour and knew Dave Marr really well. And Dave goes, do you know anything about this kid from Minnesota? We need something on this kid, put on air. And he said, well, his nickname's Lumpy. So then that came out, with Johnny Miller and Dave Marr and that. So I've been Lumpy ever since. So it is what it is, man. Just got to stick with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
If you try to fight it, it only gets worse. Right?
Lumpy, you were a great driver of the golf ball, hit it far. Kind of when you first came on the scene, what were some of your favorite, getting into some equipment things? Like what were some of your most memorable or kind of drivers you played during that time period? Probably like the SI3, Thai SI, G2, like in that kind of time frame of the late 90s, early 2000s.
So what was the name where the hosel, well, most of the hosels are plastic, but it was plastic hosel. I called it, Ping's probably not going to like it. It looked like a Folgers tin can on a stick, right?
Yeah,
but I'm going to say that was the best driver.
They almost went with that
my
name,
entire life.
Tim.
What's the name of that one? It was the one that had a really thin face.
The ISI?
I think it was ISI.
Yes.
And I remember I was playing the Honda a couple years later. It was probably like 99. And I pulled the driver on a par 5 out of a bunker. And I hit it on the green, made eagle.
Come on.
Yeah. Fairway bunker shot. I hit driver on it. I mean, I could hit this thing off the ground. I could do anything with it. And I finally cracked it under the sole plate. And the sole plate finally just fell off. But that thing was amazing. It was the best driver I ever hit. But what was so stupid is we played everything so firm and heavy. I guess maybe because the ball moved more. So maybe, we're using equipment where we're trying not to make the ball move as much. Now the ball doesn't move and you're trying to make it move. So I think people play probably softer shafts and things like that. But we were playing telephone poles. Yeah. It's amazing, Everyone used to go, oh, Lumpy, you're still with the low launch. And I'm kind of old school. Once I have something, I hold on to it. I hold on to it. And it's hard for me to give it up. I'm not there's a guy out here, Steve Flesh. He'll put anything in at any time.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Right? He can go.
Flesh, he'll throw.
If
it's changing the score by one, he's into it. I totally know what you mean.
Which is awesome. I mean, I wish I had that kind of mentality, but anyways, that was awesome. They had some awesome 3-woods, and they I think Ping really started getting things more upright and things like that to try to take the slice out of the game. It's pretty impressive on what I've seen. But I think I was one of the last guys to play I2s. And a caddy finally said, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Maybe, and I forgot what I switched to. I swithed to, you know what I switched to? They're the First Forge Ping irons.
The Answer. Yeah, I actually was that's right. I designed that iron. And
you
I
did?
remember,
it was awesome.
I remember when you
went from I2 to that. I'm like, wow, I'm hitting at least a club longer. It's pretty awesome. So now I'm messing with shafts because I've been playing. Well, I used to be like 7-0. Now I'm 6-0. Now I'm almost thinking 5-5 and then graphite. I do have the new blueprints with a graphite. It's just a little harder to time the irons. I've played so heavy for so long.
Yeah.
Maybe you might have some good advice. I'm trying to help my hands out, right? But I want the heavy hit, but I want, when it's cold, I want to be able to feel it, Yeah. There's a fine line in there.
Yeah. Steel fiber is a good option. Have you tried the steel fiber? It's literally half graphite, half steel.
No, that's what I have. Steel fiber, that's what I have. Yeah, it's good. The 110s.
That's what I was gonna say, Tim. That's a good one to try. It kind of gives you that in between.
Come on here and I get advice. I love it.
There we go.
That's what we're trying to help out golfers in some capacity, even if they're professional golfers. Tim, you said you're a bit of an old school golfer. What's the oldest club you currently have in your bag?
Well, I'm still playing 210s. I still haven't gotten over the, to the blueprint or whatever. And my son plays that one, so we're always messing around. But I'm like ready to go to the steel fiber.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe going to 5.5 and then maybe steel fiber. But I think I'm ready for the steel fiber.
Yeah.
And I'm playing the 400 driver, but I have a driver that goes 12 yards farther, but now I'm at Firestone, so I'm going to wait until the next week to maybe put that one in.
Smart.
Which is the 10K. I can't remember all the names, but the 10K.
Yeah, the max 10K.
Yeah, and then I heard there's some rumbling like they're coming out with a really fast one, so we'll see.
Lumpy, what about putters? You got 3 putters in the gold putter vault, all answers. Have you been? I know now. I think you're using a Tine or Prime Time, but what were you traditionally an answer putter the most of your career so far?
I used to be. So I was probably the third guy to claw. They call the claw.
Yes.
That might have been like 99. So I kind of had a little flinch issue back in the 90s, and the claw kind of saved all the way through the 2000s, right? So. It's been great. So then I kind of went more mallet, but all the wins were answers.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go back, but it looks weird putting with an answer. But my son puts with an answer, so.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Was Calc the first player that you remember doing the claw?
No, it's DeMarco.
DeMarco was the original.
DeMarco and Skip Kendall. Skip Kendall taught DeMarco how to do it.
Okay.
Skip Kendall didn't do it. He putted unbelievable, Skip Kendall.
Yeah.
And then I think DeMarco showed it to Kelk, and then kind of Kelk showed it to me, and then people started doing it. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I mean, DeMarco called it the Gator, right? He wouldn't call it the Claw because he wanted to give a shout out to Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
He would not call it the Claw. He called it Gator his way nearly to a green jacket, that's for sure.
Of course, the Gator, yeah. Chris.
You gotta love that. You talked a lot about your son's game. So Marty and I both have kids. They're younger than your son, but Marty's kids are kind of now competing in drive, chip, and putt. Mine are a little bit younger. I'm in the stage of trying to get them in golf and get them interested. How is it being an accomplished player, obviously somebody that's won multiple times on the PGA Tour, as a golf dad of somebody that's obviously good enough to play collegiate golf and compete in big time state events and potentially play pro golf?
It's a lot of golf. I'm gonna admit it's a lot of golf. I'm trying to get away from the game, and they're trying to play. So I try to do the mix. But you know what? The practice is way more fun. So like when I have 2 18-year-olds that are gonna go away and play golf as freshmen this year, and they're gonna try to get on some teams, and it's just kind of camaraderie wise. We go out on the range and we all kind of hit balls, and some go putt, and if I need to chip, I'll go over and chip with them. And so it's kind of fun that way. I understand the game enough to where it's a hard game. I look at more of their attitude, which I'd say in college, I probably didn't have the best attitude either. So I don't, it's not really the score or whatever. It's kind of more the process. And that's kind of what I teach them. I'm like, get your mind out of the gutter a little bit and, get thinking right and get the process right. You have no chance if you're thinking negative thoughts. You got to think some positive.
Yeah.
Even though it's a tough game.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to go to like football games and stuff like that. Now I'm on the golf course all the time. So,
should have been so good, man. They would have wanted to be like Dad,
Yeah, I want to be a dad. Let's go to Old Miss games. But no, it works out great. And you know what? It's going to be something that we have all together the rest of our lives. Even if I'm not playing, I'm still around it with them. So it's awesome. It's just I just hope they know how hard it is. And when I did it back in the 90s compared to what it is now, I mean, the lifespan is going to be so much shorter, and you could be a heck of a player, and it'll just be harder and harder for you to get back on. I mean, I felt like I could kind of have a poor year and still get over the hump and have a decent year the next year and kind of get right back in the top 50 in the world or something like that.
Yeah.
Now it's hard. I mean, it takes a year to get back. So if you have a bad year, so I mean, it's difficult. I mean, you better bring it when you're called up to the main tour.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Lumpy. I hadn't given that much thought. You know, just your life, like the golfer's lifespan now. You know, their career span, I guess, is going to be shorter and shorter. That's a really good point.
I think so. And I just talked to a caddy that just went out and caddied for Daniel Berger, and he said he goes back in the 90s, there was always 2 good college players that come out. Now there's like 8.
Yeah.
And if one just has a bad year, they're not probably playing the next year. They got to go all the way through the Corn Ferry to get their card back.
Yeah.
So it takes a whole year to get back out there. So it's a different animal, you know. I'm kind of glad I did it when I did it because I had almost a 20-year career.
Well, Tim, you bring up a great point about like the mentality of the young players. I host all the Corn Ferry coverage on Golf Channel and talk to a lot of these players, and it's very interesting the windows right now for the post collegiate players because some through PGA Tour U and opportunities through sponsors get PGA Tour opportunities or Corn Ferry Tour opportunities right out of the gate. And it's either they make it right away, like what you saw with Tiger in 96, 97, or as you mentioned, they've got to go through basically like a 2-year reroute to go through, Corn Ferry, or maybe they go to Europe for a bit, or they have to figure out a new path to get back to the PGA Tour.
Exactly.
But it's either they jump right in and it's successful right away. We've seen a lot of that this year and last year with some of these young players, or you're talking 2 or 3 years before they get that opportunity again. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I have a question, kind of. I mean, how does it work with Canton, right? Is that the kid's name that finished second in John Deere?
Yeah, I mean,
I think he finished. What did he finish? Like 3rd and 2nd the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 top 10s. But
he's
again,
an amateur.
Right? He's so I believe those points can apply if he turns professional.
Okay.
But again, it's like you're doing that as an amateur. I mean, you can get these points. It's the same thing that happened with Corn Ferry and PGA Tour last year, where there was some issues with players that were playing in U.S. Opens and they weren't getting the opportunity at Corn Ferry Tour event. They're trying to make it a little bit easier for people that show that much potential. But
yeah,
again, let's say he turns pro and doesn't have the success that he had these 2 weeks. It might be an uphill battle. So it's like the lightning strikes and you got to jump on it right away, right?
Yeah, he should have cashed in. He should turn pro. No, I don't know. No, it's all good. I think he goes to Florida State. So I'm sure he'll be, I mean, it's going to give him confidence like he can do this again. You know what I mean? But like what you said, cash in while you can, right? Because you don't know how long the window is. And these guys are swinging so hard, you don't know how, tweak, you get a slip disc or something like that. You don't know.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
It's going to be interesting next few years to see how the game grows because there's more and more kids coming out. It's amazing.
Lumpy, what else are you into outside of golf? You talked about doing other things outside of golf, but how do you spend your time up there in Minnesota? Different seasons and whatnot.
Well, I do like to fish. I haven't fished much, but I like to fish. I haven't fished in probably 5 years. I didn't go out ice fishing this year. I usually go out a couple times a year, but I'm on the golf course. If I'm not playing, I'm watching my kids. So I'm watching a lot of golf. So that's kind of what I do. I like being outside and walking the dog and doing things like that. But, I'll like go to concerts and sporting events and things like that, or at least watching them. And I spend a little time in Arizona now. So I'm going to be an empty nester. You guys have a ways to go, but it's another page in the life that you turn and try to figure that one out. So I'm going to spend a little time in Arizona and some time in Minnesota.
And Tim, when you were playing, you would spend most of the time in Minnesota still, right? Even in the winter, you'd practice up there in the winter?
Yeah. I wouldn't practice much up there. I'm not a big hit off mat type guy. Even,
gotcha.
I know there's a lot of places, and I think they can dial it in, but as a professional, you got to get it. You know, you want to know how the turf interaction, how the ball's coming off, you know, with the iron and the turf and things like that. I think mats have a trampoline, but I think for most amateurs, they can narrow it in there and find you the best equipment possible. But I'm not a big ball beater on mats.
Yeah.
I like getting it off the turf, you know?
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll do like 3-foot putting drills for like an hour off artificial turf just to kind of get the path right. So like when I do go south to practice, it's one less thing kind of have to do.
Yeah. Do you still putt? Do you still claw it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I still claw it, still kind of mess around where my hands are going to be, you know, weaken them or, you know, shut it, whatever. But, yeah, I still claw it. I'm going to claw it, I think, for a long time. I mean, I've tried a little bit of the, you know, up here and do the,
Yep.
not anchoring, but what do they even call it? I don't know. It looks
Bernarding,
easier.
I think
Everyone
is
else
what they
does it
call it.
well, but everyone else does it well. I'm not very good at it.
I've actually,
So
Marty,
and
that's
when
your
I go
world.
conventional, my friggin' stroke looks great, and I can't make a putt. So
Yeah.
that doesn't help, you know.
this is a little known tidbit, Shane and Tim, that we just ran some stats as best we could estimate it because people switch techniques. But there's a higher percentage of players on the PGA Tour putting with the broomstick than the Champions Tour.
Come on.
Really?
Yes. Like right now, I mean, think of all the younger players putting with the broomstick. It's like approaching 10% broomstick on the PGA Tour, and
that's a lot.
less than 10% on the Champions. That was shocking.
So what do you think? You think USGA kind of dropped the ball on, like, they're trying to get rid of it, and they didn't? They left a little door open, didn't they?
Yeah, I say. I mean,
Don't
putting's
integrate
hard
or-
no matter what
I don't know.
technique. I mean, I use the
I
long
agree.
putter.
I don't think they should have touched it.
Yeah,
I think you help grow the game, and if that helps grow the game, so be it. I think we have to get, I think a lot of clubs, and I know you're proud of your golf course because how hard it is and stuff, but
yeah,
hard isn't necessarily fun. You know what I mean?
No.
yep.
No.
I wouldn't, you know, I don't know. I just, the mentality is, you know, these guys are good. They're going to shoot low almost any given day,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
Tim, you've played with a ton of great players. You've watched a ton of great players over the years and over the decades. Who, when you're walking the range, either in your younger years, your prime, even into PGA Tour champions, who kind of stopped you in your tracks as you were seeing somebody either hit balls, make a sound that it was kind of Tiger or Adam Scott-like? Who kind of stopped you and you went, either who is this guy or wow, that looks different?
I think it's, I'd say VJ, Tiger, and Ernie Els had something. You know what I mean? Like VJ had, man, he could hit some shots, and I played a lot with him when he won. I think he won 8 times.
Yep.
That year.
9 times.
Played a lot with him.
Crazy.
Yeah, 9 times. Yeah, and Tiger, freaking amazing. And I think that was back in the 90s and early 2000s. And then, I mean, there's some guys that were really good. Now, I mean, this Stephen Ames absolutely flushes it. So,
yeah,
he's fun to listen to when you're hitting balls next to him. It always sounds pretty good. No clanking going on over there.
It's kind of in the middle of the face. It's kind of where you're supposed to hit it.
Yeah, exactly. It's always kind of in the middle of the face. Yeah.
Tim, before we go, can you just talk about your relationship with Ping over the years? Because obviously it kind of dates back to the New Mexico days, how it's been partnering with Ping, how it's been kind of watching the company grow as your career has grown.
Yeah, Ping's been a great company to be with. I've been with Ping for, well, you know, since college. So I've been playing the irons ever since. Would never even think about playing another iron. They got so many different options, and you know, just the people are great too. You know, the company's really grown. I don't know everyone. I mean, I remember back in the early 90s, I kind of knew everyone, and I know Lou Beebe's still around, so that's always
Oh yeah.
Lou. Oh yeah, Lou Beebe, he's the best. But no, you know, just to watch Ping through, you know, the bad times and the good times, and they've you know, they've made it through all the bad times, and now they're a great company, great family, and just proud to be part of the Ping family. And Christian Pena. I mean, I got to give it up for Christian.
Gotta give him some
Totally.
love.
I've known Christian since college, and I had to babysit his little brother a little bit.
Hey,
That's
hey,
what I
is
always
his
call
short
him.
is his short game as good as people say it is, Tim?
Oh man, he's smooth. You just ask him. He's smooth. He's a smooth operator.
Just ask him. I love it.
No. You know what? He was a flusher too. He hit it really good. If you don't play a lot and you're in your mid to upper 50s, it takes a toll. You got to feel okay that day. You know what I mean? But I played with him last year, and we had a blast from the past. We had kind of his team. Rob MacGyver. Yep. I was the only New Mexico guy. It was Rob MacGyver and Harry Rudolph and myself. So we had a great time. We played out at Phoenix Country Club.
Yeah,
Phoenix Country Club.
Rob's
and you know what? And Christian hit it good. I think we're on the same team. I think we broke even. I had a putt, 6-footer that I missed on the last hole to beat him. But we had a great time.
He's crafty.
He is.
He's crafty. He hits that big high. He hits up on the driver like 8-9 degrees. Sneaky long, big sweep and draw. Just
best. That's another thing about Ping. He's like family too, right? He's a family guy. He's all Ping. He's been with Ping forever too. So it's really cool to be part of the family.
Well, Tim, listen, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Good luck this week. Play well, make some putts, do all the stuff that Marty's been doing this summer. And we'll be rooting for you, and we'll check back with you soon.
All right, guys. Yeah, let's do it again.
All right. Appreciate it, Tim.